You are scrolling again. The cursor hovers over a venue deposit that costs more than your first car. The average modern wedding now demands roughly $35,000. A photographer who shoots in cinematic mode, a curated hashtag, and a year of logistical warfare conducted via spreadsheet. The entire architecture is built on a single sacred assumption, that this enormous expense and effort is the expression of love. The bigger the spectacle, the deeper the bond. For most of Roman history, the legal essence of a marriage required no priest, no contract, and frequently no ceremony at all. A marriage in Rome could be legally formed by the simple mutual intent to be married, a state of mind called affectio maritalis. You were married because you both, today, considered yourselves married, and you remained married only so long as that intention lasted. The thing we spend a fortune trying to prove, the Romans treated as something you simply decided. The smoking gun sits buried in Roman jurisprudence, later codified in the Digest of the Emperor Justinian. The jurists recorded a principle that would scandalize every wedding planner alive. Nuptias non concubitus, sed consensus facit. It is not intercourse, but consent that makes a marriage. The legal foundation of the Roman household, the bedrock institution of the most powerful empire in the ancient world, was not the body, not the blood, not even the ceremony. It was agreement. This shattered the assumption, held in countless cultures before and since, that marriage is sealed by an irreversible physical or ritual act. The Roman jurist Ulpian and his peers built a system where two free citizens could become a legal family through pure mutual will. The lavish ceremony, the famous confareatio rite with its sacred spelt cake offered to Jupiter, was reserved largely for the patrician elite and the priesthood, a status display, not a legal necessity. The wedding, in other words, was already understood as theater. The Romans just never confused the theater with the marriage itself. If you doubt this, walk through the necropolises along the Appian Way and read the gravestones. The physical record is etched in marble. Husbands erected funerary inscriptions praising a wife with whom they had lived sine ulla querella, without a single quarrel, for 30-40 years. The famous Laudatio Turiae, a long marble inscription from the 1st century BC, records a grieving husband memorializing a wife who had defended their home, hidden him from assassins, and offered to divorce him so he could have children when she feared she was barren. Yet that same archaeological record reveals divorce so casual that the same individuals appear linked to multiple successive spouses, the inscriptions reused, the alliances reshuffled like cards. The hardware tells the story the software promised, a society where the bond could be extraordinarily deep, while the institution remained extraordinarily fluid. The stone celebrates devotion. The law assumed impermanence. Step into the Domus. It is dawn, and the air smells of wood smoke, crushed myrtle, and the wool of the bride's specially woven tunic. Before sunrise, the bride, let's call her Tullia, sheds her childhood. She dedicates her old toys and her girlhood toga praetexta to the household gods, the Lares. She is dressed not by a stylist, but by her mother and the pronuba, a married woman of unbroken first marriage who serves as a living omen of stability. A tunica recta, woven in one piece on an old-fashioned upright loom. A belt knotted in the nodus herculaneus, the knot of Hercules, which only the husband may untie. The crowning piece, the flammeum, a flame-colored veil of brilliant saffron orange that engulfs her like fire. This single color is so iconic, it gives us the verb nubere, to veil oneself, the literal root of the word nuptials. Mid-morning, the guests crowd the atrium. The auspices are taken, the omens read. There is no officiant who pronounces them married. Instead, the pronuba joins the couple's right hands in the dextrarum junctio, the clasping of hands carved onto 1,000 Roman tombs. Tullia speaks the ancient formula. Where you are Gaius, I am Gaia. A sacrifice is made. A cake of spelt may be shared. The contract tablets, if any, are signed before witnesses, largely to protect the dowry, the financial engine humming beneath all the saffron and myrtle. As night falls, the real spectacle begins, the deductio. A roaring, torch-lit procession hauls Tullia from her father's house to her husband's, the crowd shouting the ancient ritual cry, Thalasio, pelting the couple with walnuts, singing songs so obscene they would make a soldier blush. This is not decorum. This is communal noise, deliberate chaos meant to ward off evil and announce a new union to the entire street. At the threshold, she smears the doorposts with oil and fat and wraps them in wool. She must not trip over the threshold, a terrible omen, so she is lifted across it. Inside, fire and water are offered to her, the two elements of the home she now governs. The whole community has witnessed it, and yet, legally, none of it was strictly required. The fire was real. The marriage was an idea. Here is the irony that should make us shift in our seats. The Romans engineered something we still claim to want, a marriage based on consent rather than coercion, dissolvable rather than imprisoning, founded on the will of two people rather than the iron grip of ritual. They built the off-ramp. Divorce required no court and often no cause, a notice, a withdrawal of intention, and the marriage simply ceased to exist the way it had begun. This was supposed to be liberation, and for the elite, it became a cage of a different design. Because once marriage became a matter of will, it became a matter of strategy. Freed from permanence, the Roman aristocracy weaponized matrimony into a tool of pure political alliance. Marriages were contracted and dissolved to chase senatorial votes, inheritances, and factional power. Pompey, Caesar, Octavian, the great men traded daughters and wives like assets on a ledger. Cato the Younger famously lent his wife Marcia to a friend, then took her back, richer, after the friend died.
The tragedy wasn't that consent-based marriage failed. The tragedy was that it succeeded. It worked exactly as designed, and in making love freely chosen, it made love freely discardable. By the reign of Augustus, the elite were so reluctant to bind themselves that the emperor had to pass desperate laws, the Lex Julia, penalizing the unmarried and childless and rewarding those who bred. The state was now bribing its citizens to do the thing the heart was supposed to compel. The most flexible marriage system in the ancient world produced an emperor legislating against bachelorhood. We built our modern wedding as a fortress, a $35,000 monument designed to make love feel permanent, witnessed, unbreakable. The Romans saw the opposite truth, that no ceremony can manufacture an intention, and no veil, however brilliant, can hold a heart that has decided to leave. So they stopped trying to bind the will and chose instead to celebrate it loudly with torches and walnuts and obscene songs, knowing all the while that what they were celebrating could quietly dissolve by morning. We spend fortunes proving our love is forever. They spent an evening admitting it might not be. Which of us, in the end, is being honest about what a marriage actually is? A vow we are bound to keep? Or an intention we must choose to renew every single ordinary day?